Hello everyone. Today I wanted to show a quick little demo on how you can take two separate files and stitch them or merge them together in Photoshop. This can come in handy if, say, you had to scan an image in and you scanned one side, your scanner bed wasn't big enough, and so you flipped it around, you had to scan it again. And likewise, also if you have some kind of camera setup, or maybe you had to take photos of it in kind of sections. So I'll show you how I did that. I have these older prints that I made during graduate school that I had to put in the scanner bed one side at a time. It was a really big scanner, like bigger than 20 by 20 or something like that. My art pieces are 20 by 30 inches, or 22 by 30, I guess I should say. So I was really happy to be able to scan them in. So I'm going to show you really quick in Photoshop how to do that. It's super duper easy and it's going to come in handy in a lot of ways. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in Photoshop. And you can see I have my normal Creative Cloud database kind of opening, and then I can just click open. And from there, I'll go to my files. And I have a number of them that I need to work with, but I'm going to go ahead and specifically work with, I think, this section here. So this is the top, and then to the right of it is the bottom. But the problem is that this needs to get rotated a couple times so that way it's oriented in the proper way. So I'm just going to right click on this file as is and then go to rotate right. And I'm going to have to do that one more time, rotate right. So now I have the top and the bottom, and that way I kind of have an idea of what I need to do. And then I'm going to click actually cancel, but I'm going to start the Photomerge, you go to File and then Automate, and then you go into Photomerge. So I could have jumped into that right away, but a new dialog box should pop up that says, which two files would you like to use? And we'll see that in just a second here. There it goes. So source files, it's going to be files, it says, or folder. I'm going to click browse, and then I'll go to those same two files that I just found. So I worked a little bit backwards here, but that's okay. So like I had to rotate this second one, I could have done that a little bit ago, or right now. So these are ready, can click OK. And then again, I'm going to click these two files. So I'm going to hold down Shift, click the top and the bottom, and right here on the left, it says layout. There's auto, perspective, cylindrical. These are all different things and they might serve different purposes for you, but I typically just go with the auto because that works best for most applications that I need. And then at the bottom here, it says blend images together, vignette removal, a couple other things that I'm not 100% comfortable with, but this is all I've ever needed, so I'm going to show that. And then you're going to click OK. And it should just take a couple minutes and it'll come up with kind of this composite image. Usually opens one at a time. So there's our bottom, and now it should be loading the top part. And what it's doing is essentially just lining up the pixels, lining up the color, lining up the visual information and the data of the image, and trying to lock it into place in a way that matches or makes sense. So let's see how this one turns out. I've had mostly a lot of success with this process. Very rarely have things gone awry, so it should work good for you as well. Okay, so now it just loaded the new image, and I'm going to go ahead and just zoom out a little bit by hitting my Command minus. And that way it gives me an idea of what my edges are looking like. So I can see over here on the right, the top, and the left, there's some of the transparency layer. So if you look over here in your layers panel, you have two different files and you can kind of see how it masked it together, which is super cool. I don't need to keep these separate, so I'm actually going to combine them first. Right now they're linked, which is great, but just so that way I can make some edits, I'm going to go ahead and try to merge those two layers. So now they're one. And so now I have that, it looks good. I'm going to go ahead and go to my crop tool, which is over here on the left. And I'm going to go ahead and just start kind of dragging it over very cautiously without losing the integrity of the image, and while still trying to get rid of some of that transparent background. So I think that looks pretty good. I can go ahead and hit enter now. And it might just take a minute because it's quite a big file. And I think that looks pretty good. The only part I'm concerned about is the bottom. And so I'll show you kind of a different technique that you can use. And that technique involves the rulers. So my rulers are already showing. And to make sure they're there, you usually go to view and then you go to show, or I'm sorry, view and then ruler. So it's already there. And I can go ahead and click on my ruler and drag a guide all the way to where I need it to be. And if you can kind of see it, I essentially just dragged the guide to be, oh, it's not loading just yet, to be just above. So if you hover over it, you can move it around just a little bit. And it just looks like my paper was crooked. That's just how it was created. So now when I go ahead and crop, I can go to view and then snap to guides. So this blue line is my guide that I dragged from my rulers up here, and then I can kind of click and it will snap or attract itself to that exact spot. And then I can just go ahead and click enter. That can come in useful if I wanted to be more attentive to details. I would do that for the entire thing, and I can actually do that for the top as well if I wanted. It looks like it's still snapping right now, so you sometimes have to remove that. Turn off the snap. And then from here, if I zoom in on the top, I can see that there's just a teeny tiny little black spot up there that might get in the way. So I'm just going to kind of scope around the entire image, and I think that looks good, but I just need to take off that little tiny bit. I want to see if I can get it a little bit closer. Okay, that looks good. So I can go to my crop, and then remember you go to view and then snap to guides, and then this is going to snap exactly to that location, and I can click enter, and then command 0 once it's done cropping. Okay, so command 0. And then here's where you could go ahead and do some of your photo editing. You could go into your adjustment layers like I demonstrated before, and you can adjust your darkest point and your lightest point. So this one's kind of easy because it's basically, this is where the information is happening. So I'm just going to move my darkest point all the way over to the start of that information. And then from there, I can play around with my lightest point. And again, just trying to get it back to its proper look, like what it looks like in real life, not looking better or worse than it actually is. So again, I like to kind of mess with the middle section, very limited, not too much, because it tends to kind of slide effortlessly. But again, just get it to exactly where you think it needs to be. And I'm going to go ahead and just save this one. So file, save as. And then this one is a collograph. So a type of print, I'm just labeling it my own system. So collograph, grad school, figures, hearts, birds. And I'm going to save it as a PSD so that way I can go back and edit those layers. But it looks like my scratch disks are full. So if you just do file, save as, and it should go through properly. So I hope that's helpful, and it looks really good. It looks really convincing and how it's supposed to. So yeah, thank you so much for watching.